Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have December's monthly awareness polish box. The proceeds this month will be donated to m.a.d.d, which is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. 10% of each box sold will be donated to this organization. Pre-orders are open right now, so I'll go ahead and link that down below for you. They will be open all the way through December 5th and will begin shipping at mid-month. I did purchase my box with a blogger's discount, and I'll go ahead and link all of the maker's social media as well as storefronts down below so you can check those out, and I'll get right into the swatches for you. So first up is No More Victims by Darling Diva Polish. This is described as a raspberry hollow. This is a very, very deep, bright pink. It almost looks red in some lighting, but it definitely leans pink. It does have a very strong hollow effect. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how No More Victims swatched on my natural nail. This polish does have a bit of a thicker formula, and Darling Diva has that kind of thinner brush if you're into that, the skinnier brush for more precise application. I did have to dip my brush back into the bottle just to get enough for this first coat, but it went on really well, super opaque. I could totally get away with one coat here. I did have a little bit of low spots around the edges just due to my application, so I am going to let this dry and come back in for a second coat. A second coat just barely deepens this polish up. I think that for sure this one will stamp amazing. This is such a stunning polish. I didn't have sunlight this day that I swatched them. It was rainy and kind of overcast, and I really regret not getting this one out into the sun. So here is a look at the completed mani before top coat. Here's a view from another angle with top coat just under my artificial lighting that I usually photograph under. So you can see it still has a really strong linear effect there. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle under artificial lighting. Next up is Always Count the Cost by Night Owl Lacquer. This is described as a light gold with gold holographic micro glitter and red holographic shreds. It just does have a sprinkling of that red throughout. Really pretty. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how Always Count the Cost swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. Night Owl Lacquer does have a bit of that thicker brush, which I prefer. This one did start out a little bit sheer, but it went on nice and smoothly. I did notice I got a little bit of brush strokes within the gold shimmer there, so just be mindful of that. I'll let that dry and then come back in for a second coat. So here is a quick second coat. I am going to do a little bit of a thicker second coat, but this is going to bring this completely opaque for me. I do love how sparing that red is. It really kind of bounces and shines off the nail. I think this is super appropriate for the December box as well. It does have a festive feel to it, even within this super somber box. So here is a look at the completed mani before top coat. Here's a view from another angle with top coat just under my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting. And once more at an angle under artificial lighting. Next up is Mad with Envy by Dainty Digits Polish. This is my first Dainty Digits polish that I'm trying. It's described as an evergreen with golden and green, blue, purple ultra chrome flakies. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Mad with Envy swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. This one starts out a little bit sheer as well, and it does have a tendency to get a little bit brush strokey. But one coat went on nice and smooth, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for a second coat. So here is a quick second coat. Again, I'm going to do a bit of a thicker second coat. If you're not a fan of brush strokes, you can always use a sponge and just dab on the final coat, and that'll take care of that. So 2 coats does bring this one completely opaque for me. So here is a look at the completed mani before top coat. This one has a very strong shimmer in it. Here's a view from another angle with top coat just under my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle. So next up is Hand Over the Keys by Blush Lacquers. This is another new to me brand. This is described as a periwinkle blue with a royal blue shimmer. So this is another very strong shimmer polish. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. And I'll show you how I'll hand over the keys swatched on my natural nail. So this formula was a little bit tricky for me. It does feel like a Crelly as opposed to a cream. This first coat did go on a little bit patchy and sheer. So I'll let this dry and then come back in for a second coat. I have a tendency to want to do a thicker second coat when I get a polish that starts out a little bit thin. I don't think this is necessarily the best route for this polish. It kind of leveled weird for me when I did a thicker coat, so I think you should keep them nice and thin. 2 coats is just shy of being opaque for me, so I am going to let this dry and come back in for a third coat. So here is the third coat. I'm going to do just a nice thin coat to get everything all leveled out. I did notice a few brush strokes in the final look, but it's not enough to bother me or not enough to really make me want to sponge it on. I think the effect on the nail is amazing. It glows, not literally, but just all of that shimmer. It's a really cool effect. So here is a look at the completed mani before top coat. I think this is going to be a stunner matte as well. Here's a view from another angle with top coat just under my lighting. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle. Next up is Overcoming Gray Skies by Pretty Beautiful, and this is described as a medium gray Crelly with copper shimmer, ultra chrome flakies that shift copper, gold, and green, and chameleon micro glitters, and some red micro shreds in there as well that looks kind of like shimmer. Very complex Crelly, super pretty on the nail. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Overcoming Gray Skies swatched on my natural nail. So it did start out a little bit sheer here. It is definitely a Crelly, but you have a ton of those great glitter mixes going on in there. I did get quite a few flakes on this first swipe, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for a second coat. I'm going to do a little bit of a thicker second coat, and this did bring this one completely opaque for me. It leveled out really nicely and went on super smooth. So here is a look at the completed mani before top coat. This one does dry down fairly glossy. Here's a view from another angle with, I almost said indirect sunlight, with top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle. So lastly today I have Blackout by Lifestyle Lacquer, and this is described as a black hollow polish with a black holographic fine micro glitter. So this looks like a galaxy in a bottle. It has that scattered and linear holographic glitter. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot. Super inky. And I'll show you how Blackout swatched on my natural nail. So here is one easy coat. This is not quite a jelly. It does have a lot of pigment going on in there. I found that the more I manipulated this first coat, the darker it got and more opaque. I could see this totally being a one coater if you kind of worked it a little bit. I did have some low spots there, so I'll let this dry and then come back in for a second coat. So here is a quick second coat, and this is for sure going to bring this one completely opaque for me. Just super incredibly pretty. So here's a look at the completed mani before top coat, so this one definitely dries down glossy. Here's a view from another angle with top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo under artificial lighting, and once more at an angle. So that wraps up my swatch and review of the December Monthly Awareness Polish Box. I will link their group down below. You should definitely join. They have a lot of great causes that they're planning on donating to. If you'd like to see more photos, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.wordpress.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.